Hi, Dr. Lauren Kosinski here, and it's day number 18 of my 33-day video challenge. And so it's evening again. So either I'm going to have to sort out this ring light situation or figure something else out about a 30-day challenge. But the name of the game here is just getting it done. So what we're going to talk about today is going back in time now to about 9 years ago. So I'm at this juncture where we're still trying to work out whether there's a way to get me clinical activity that's not going to eat me alive while I'm trying to take care of 400 surgeons. Yeah. And also that I faced a lot of disappointment from the chairman who was working with me on this, who offered me this really great job, really had no interest at all in trying to fix anything in the hospital other than make sure that the bathrooms were clean, because that was the only thing in his mind that made a difference in patient impression. And then I'd also been spending time over these months while I was in New York City meeting other physicians who were in integrative practices to try to see whether there was any real good rationale for taking this holistic approach to the patient and creating a surgical model of care. And I have to say that I was neither fish nor fowl. So I didn't fit in anywhere. Like, they couldn't figure out what I was doing there. It didn't make sense to them that a surgeon would be interested in this. It was, let's just say it was lonely, trying to sort all this out, even though I certainly thought it was worthwhile. So I had started, and I mentioned this in a video or two ago, that I started thinking about trying to change the hospital from the inside out instead of having to create a whole massive structure that would support building a new kind of hospital. And so I'm going to share here a little bit of a mind map that I made. Let me put myself back in the middle here somewhere. So I took that long list that I'd made for the CMO, and I sort of added things to it, but it did become kind of useful, a helpful thing for me to at least see what's not working for me in a pretty comprehensive way, from really tiny things that were almost embarrassing to write down to things that are philosophically quite important. And I decided that I would work from the principle that you can see in the middle of this mind map, that I wanted to create a microenvironment for the hospitalized patient that built autonomy and acknowledged their individuality. Because the broadest definition of being sick or disabled is a loss of a sense of self. So these would be like what medical anthropologists and medical sociologists say. So it's not about like germs, but having a loss of a sense of self and a loss of autonomy, loss of ability to live functionally in the fullest way that you can. So that changed everything, because then I'm not in a consumer model where I'm like the Disney expert trying to figure out how to create the right experience for a guest at the park. And I know it's late breaking news, but the hospital is not Disneyland, even though there are aspects of it that might seem that way sometimes. So you'll see at the top that I put a bunch of guiding principles, things that I just wanted to keep in mind. Everything that I made had to fit some of this. So let's see what it is. So I'm looking at how I can create some tools within the hospital that would help achieve these things that are in the box in the middle. The tool itself is an agent of healing. So whatever I made, I wanted it to be like a medicine. It bridges language barriers, because there are a lot of communication difficulties in the hospital. Games may help patients get outside of themselves and imagine a different self, an avatar, provide interaction with loved ones. So I wanted to create a bigger frame for patients to see and to represent themselves in the hospital. This is part of being seen. Modular design, personalizable for institutions as well as for patients and providers, so it needed to be flexible. Strong, I haven't looked at this for a long time. Strong, healthy providers will foster the strengths and the health of their patients. Well, that should go without saying, even though we like to say that it's different. Flexible input sources. Yes, we wanted different ways to be able to interact with this. Must be intuitive and simple to use, of course, especially because some people who are engaging with it are not going to have their full faculties. If we don't enjoy making it, they won't enjoy using it. Well, this is my idea about mirrors and about reciprocity. Clever exceeds expectations, right? I want it to be smart. I want it to feel like you picked up something that's magic. protects private information, so HIPAA compliant. Sustainable design means it can be updated and pays for itself because of value to the patients and the providers. Aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, why not? Relevant functionally, culturally, and ethnically. Must streamline workflow and enhance the provider experience as well as the patients. This is really critical. I'm surprised that didn't get like a big cloud in the middle. Playful and interactive. Orients patients, it's restorative and reduces anxiety. Remembers who patients are when they cannot remember themselves. Facilitates communication, and journey themes reinforce healing as a process requiring engagement of the patient so that we're not stuck in time. So I'm not going to go through the rest of this because actually this still has value, and you didn't sign an NDA. But I did want to give you an idea about how I was trying to approach my thinking. And what I think is evident in this, and would speak to you as a clinician, as a physician, is that things that I know, well, some of this isn't from medical school. I mean, that these broader definitions of what illness is, I didn't really get that in medical school. I got that from doing my master's degree and from coursework that I did as an undergraduate, and then thinking, talking. But you know, this trying to put at the core of making meaningful change things that actually stand to affect the patient experience and therefore also reciprocally affect ours, and building in some things that are specifically meant to address ours. That was my approach and rationale. And this is actually a pretty good example of why I think that outsourcing responsibility for our happiness and work satisfaction to administrators is insane. I'm just going to say it's totally insane. And it's doubly insane because, in my mind, very little, well, really nothing has happened to meaningfully address our experience. They can't, and they're not interested. And it's our responsibility. I mean, this is definitional of a profession. Anyway, that's my soapbox for today, but also a little taste of how I started going about this, working, reworking, coming back in lots of different ways. And, you know, maybe it's a cautionary tale in a way because this didn't get made. I ended up choosing to work on something else, and I'll tell you about that in the next video.